All right, so we're going to get on to it. I would keep accepting people into the call while I go over this. And yeah, I know someone will be asking, I'm recording, but I don't know when the video will be out. So if you're here, just stay here and then ask questions towards the end. All right, let's start with buttons. How do we create buttons with auto layout? And I will tell you guys, auto layout is one of the best feature that Figma has, and it makes life really easy. It makes aligning things very easy. You don't need to start manually aligning to, let's say we have this text and this text. You don't need to start manually aligning it because it might not even fit. But with auto layout, if I select this one and press Shift plus A, it just aligns and just give me what I actually want. All right, so that's one of its importance, but it has several other importance, and those importance come especially when you're working with tables. And I'm going to show you how we create tables. And when I talk about tables, I'm talking about those transaction tables where you find the name of the transaction, the invoice number, the date, the time, the status of that particular invoice, either is pending, approved, or declined. You find edit button, you find some other information. So that's what we'll be doing for the tables. I hope you understand it at the end of the day. So I'm going to simplify this enough so that you guys will understand it. I'm going to try my best to actually simplify this so much. So let's get into it. I will just move this away and then let's zoom out. Please, if you don't have a mouse, please buy a mouse. All right, don't be the trackpad gang. Buy a mouse. See how balanced I am on my chair, and I'm just scrolling around. All right, buy a mouse, and I'll keep saying it. All right, so let's go. So the first thing you need to do, or the first thing I do, this is something I do often. If I'm working with a button, I have a specific height for my buttons, especially when I'm working with mobile applications. I have heights for the button. So all I need to do is go to frame. I go to frame, I pick a frame, and I draw a frame of that height. Now it's not this height because you're seeing 984 here. No, it's not this height. All right, it's less. So for mobile applications, I use between 54 to 60, and then I use the same actually for web. So in case you need an idea of the height of the button, the width doesn't matter. What matters is the height of the button. All right, so the width can be as long as an Iroko 3, or that Iroko is going upward, maybe as long as a limousine. All right, that doesn't matter actually. So let's get back into it. So when I have my frame, over here. I would now bring in my text. So what will be my text? Let's say the text is sign up. All right, so we have sign up over here, and that's the text. All right, my text usually is in bold, so I'm going to use bold. Whenever I'm using a text inside of a button, I put it in bold. I'll name this frame button. All right, and we'll continue with it. So let me zoom into this, and the way I'm actually focusing on this is Shift plus 2. So if you press Shift, hold Shift plus 2 on your keyboard, you will just zoom. If it was like this, you just select it and it will just bring it upward. All right, so this is what we need, and now it's time to turn it into an auto layout frame. Now why we need to turn this into an auto layout frame is because if we have something like get started, for instance, let's constrain this to the left. If we have something like get started, you see what happens? It doesn't go with the button. All right, you now have to manually start dragging this one from this point to align it, and then you now come back and center align this one again, which doesn't really do justice to what I want to achieve with this. So if we're going to stick to our sign up, and so we have the screen of a sign up, and what we're going to do next is we're going to select the frame, and then we'll select the text. Just select the text and the frame, or in fact just select the frame, and then all you need to do is come here to auto layout. Because it's inside the frame, you can come to auto layout and click auto layout. But if it wasn't a frame, maybe you're the kind of person that likes drawing a shape, all right, then you have to select both of them. So if you have a shape, this is a shape, and this, you would have to select the shape and this one, and if you look here, you see both of them are selected. So if you're that kind of person, you can do that and you can click auto layout. Now mind you, auto layout does not work unless you have more than one element. So if you have just one element, you won't see auto layout except you do shift plus 2, and that's for my friends that like doing, let me make this white, my friends that like creating buttons with this style. So if you press shift plus 2, shift plus A, not shift plus 2, shift plus A, you're going to have this, and then you can give it a frame color, and then you can now extend the horizontal padding and then the vertical padding. But like I said, I have a particular height I work with, so I already know this height, except you don't know the height that you're working with, and I'm conversant with this particular height. What I'll just do is to select the frame. So create a frame, put in your text, select that frame, go to auto layout over here, and just click either the plus sign or just click the center. So I'll just click anywhere. Once you do that, it still retains that way. You can see nothing happened to it, right? That's because we already have a fixed height that I've actually given it, and that height was 984, and it's still that way. All right, you can see the arrow pointing that way, so it's still that way. All right, so you can extend this, you can leave it anyhow. But now let's test if our auto layout actually works. So select this and we'll type get started. So you can see what's happening. You can see what's happening. The text is, the frame is flowing together with the text. So get started with Figma today. Let's see. So you can see what we have. Now let's try it with this one. Get started, constraint to the left. Get started with Figma today. So you can see the difference, and for this one we would have to now manually start rolling it to actually get the exact points and all of those things. It's just a whole lot of work. All right, so that's why we use auto layout, and I hope someone got an idea of what this is. So with auto layout you can create multiple things as well. So I'll just break this into get started, delete this part. You see how it just shortens our button for us. We can just round it to give it some kind of feel. Let me do 200 and see how that is. Cool. So this is our button now. There are instances where you're going to have other variants, and I'm talking about the secondary button. All right, so if we duplicate this, it will be side by side. All right, and then once it's this way, we can have our secondary button, which is the one with an outline and doesn't have a fill. So we'll make the black white. That's the text. We've made that white. I already have style guides. You can just go and choose. You can click here and turn it to white or black or whichever you want. So I'm just going to leave that at white. I'll bring out a stroke. I'll use that style so that people that don't know how to create a style guide yet can also understand. So close out the fill, and then I'll increase the weight of the stroke, so to something like 30. All right, please don't follow these methods. I mean, these sizes I'm calling, these sizes are just because of the buttons are very big. They are outrageously big. All right, so if you want to have a radius, it should not go, I mean, the weight of your outline should not be more than 2. All right, it should not be more than 2 points. All right, and then your button height should not be more than 60 for mobile. For web, you can do your thing and just own everything that you want to do, but just ensure it doesn't go past that particular number. Right, so this is a primary and secondary button, and now there are cases where you're going to see on a mobile phone where this button will be on top and then this one will be below it, and you can do that with auto layout. You don't have to even stress yourself. I don't have to stress myself saying, okay, let me start bringing this one downwards. No, once you create your buttons, select both of them. So hover on both of them, or you select them by selecting this one, holding shift and clicking on this one as well. And then once you do that, just click on auto layout again. Go to the auto layout property and click auto layout. Now they've become one frame. And now there's a special control in auto layout, and that control is the vertical layout and the horizontal layout. Now currently is on the horizontal layout, and if you look at my auto layout channel, you see that the right arrow is highlighted and then the down arrow is not. So out of curiosity, let's see what this actually does. If this is going to align it the way we actually think it would align it, like bringing Mr. B downwards and taking Mr. B A upward. So let's see. So all I'll do is come here and click on the vertical layout. And are you seeing what happened? It brought it downwards for us. We don't need to do any extra work. The only thing we need to do is to increase the space between them. And how can we do this? It's very easy. The next line is the vertical space between items. And when you go on it, I'm going to zoom this in. When you come here, you see this red or pink lines showing there. So I've come here, you're going to see those pink lines in between them. It's telling you that is where you're going to be making corrections to. So what will I do? I will just reduce this. You can either use the arrow to reduce it this way, or you can use your navigation key. So I know most of you will see me use the arrow that shows up here. Once this arrow shows, it's telling you you can go to the left or to the right. So you can click and just drag it out, and it's going to go this way, or you can drag it to the right and it's going to keep giving you more spacing. So we're just going to leave it like this. And then someone will ask, so if I take this vertically now, how can I now go back to how it was horizontally? Very easy. Just go back to the arrow for the horizontal layout and click on it, and it takes you back to horizontal layout, and you can see it happening that way. You can bring it downwards, you can take it that way. Now I'm going to show you another form of auto layout, and it's an overlapping feature, and I'm sure most of you must have seen this in usage of images. And so I'm going to show you how that is done. This is for button, and I hope someone has gotten that idea. Now let's create this for images, those overlapping images that you see them being on top of each other. There are two ways you can actually overlap those images. So first thing first, I'm going to draw a circle. All right, so this is my circle, right? And then I'm going to give it a stroke color. Stroke color would be white, and then we're going to give it a better stroke color. I'll change it from inside to outside. Right, so we have this is our image. I'll go up here, go to plugins, and I'm using a plugin called Memojins. Memojins, Memojis. So click on run, and it's going to just fill up automatically an image inside there, an avatar inside there. So we can do it again. We'll just do it 4 more times. 3 more times. Just make them 4. I'll do that. It's giving us that. Select this one. Click the run again. It's going to give us another one. Select this one and click the run again. And it's going to give us a lady this time. Oh, it gave us guys. Nice. Alright, so we have all of this, and what we want to do is this. I'm going to show you. We want to do something like this. So you can do it manually. Yes sir, you can. But would it be accurate? Somehow. At times, if you're a pro with doing things manually, yes. But why go through that stress when you can use auto layouts? So that is why I want to show you how you can do this using auto layout, and it's very easy, very easy. So all I need to do with my auto layout, select all of them as usual. You can just hover on them. You don't even need to hover from outside before you can select something. You can just stay from the center and just, as long as the line touches it, it's going to be selected. All right, so once we have that, go to your auto layout or use the shortcut. The shortcut for auto layout is Shift plus A. Now if you're using a MacBook, you might want to check out what is Shift. I don't use a MacBook. All right, I may have to ask my sister. So if you're using a MacBook, I think it might be Option on the Mac. So I don't know, but Option plus A, if that is what represents Shift. So press that, and once you do that, yeah, someone wants to say something.
Command.
Command.
Use command for Mac.
Okay.
CMD.
Awesome. So if you're using a MacBook, you'd use Command and what he said there, Command A. Street. All right, so let's proceed. So the next thing I'm going to do is I have everything highlighted, and what I'll do, sorry, they just give me a second, guys. They just gave me very low current. Let me turn off my gadgets. Okay, so I'm back. All right, so selecting all of it, you can hit Shift plus A or Command plus A, or you can go to the Auto Layout property channel and you can just click on Auto Layout, and now everything becomes one. What can you do? Remember the space between them. So you can do the space between them by just moving this. All right, you move it, and don't be scared that it will stop where they stop. Just this way, you can move it and overlap them. Now this is overlapped this way. Now how about if we want the first guy, which is the guy in the purple background, how about if we want him to be the one on top instead of the other ones? Like, we want the other ones to flow beneath him instead of him being the last. He came out first, he was the firstborn. Why are you keeping him last? So how can we do this? Very easy. Now Auto Layout has another feature. It's more like a secondary feature, an advanced feature, but I don't see it as an advanced feature. So go to these three dots. You can see these three dots. It says Advanced Auto Layout Settings. So click on it, and then it's going to bring out this dialog box. All right, all you have to do now is come to the canvas stacking. You can see canvas stacking here, and they're showing you an image of a preview of what it looks like. All right, the preview is at the top there where you see 1 2 3. Now when you're here, you're going to see the last is on top, and that's what it is. All right, the last one is on top. So change it and put first on top. Once we do this, the first one will become the one on top. You can see how it is. So easily you've done this. Instead of manually trying to change it over and over again, you can just do this and have yourself a lot more time to kind of spare. Now you can, if you look at this, you're going to see that the stroke is outside of the blue line, right? The stroke is outside of the blue line. So what can we do? You can see under strokes in the advanced setting, you're going to see what it says, excluded. So the strokes are excluded. So how about if we want the strokes to be part of it, so that when we are working on something, we're sure of where this thing would actually move on a grid line. So if we have a grid line here, it's going to lap here, and then this other white will just be outside of the grid line, and we don't want that. So how can we align this? You just change it from excluded to included in layout. Are you seeing what happened? Now the stroke has now been included in the layout. So if we had like a grid line, let's bring out a grid line here. Let's keep this here, and we have this. Now see what happens. It laps. It automatically laps on the grid line. Let me zoom in so that you guys know that I'm not just saying things. So you can see the line. It laps on exactly on that grid line. All right. But if we had gone the other route and we click on the dot and then go to strokes excluded, see what happens. You will not be able to align this part. It's not working until you get to this part. You see? So let's zoom in so you see. You see? So it laps exactly on that line, and that's because we did not include the stroke, which would give you an off-balance design. So have that at the back of your mind when you're working, even when you want to align things. Now look at this, it's aligning with the button perfectly, but when we bring out our ruler and keep it there, see where it aligns. Are you seeing where it aligns? See where the ruler aligns. So always include your strokes when you create images like this. So go to the settings, advanced settings, and go to strokes and put included in layout, and you're going to have something fantastic. It's going to lap, and then if you bring out the ruler again, you're going to see that it laps accurately. So guys, this is how you can use the auto layout for buttons, and like I said, we're definitely going to do it for tables. So let me figure out if there's any other one missing. Is there any other one missing? No, I think the major one would be with the tables, and then there are other things in regards to aligning certain things. So if I grab this one, Alt, and I probably have, let's say we have a longer button and then we have that shorter button down here. I'll reduce this one and I select both of them, and then maybe I'll put them in auto layout. Now maybe I don't want it to be this way, I want it to be centered aligned. All I need to do is go to this, you see this box here that looks like an X and O game. All right, I'll put it at the center, so align center. So if I align center, that second button will come to the down part. If I align right, it will go to the right hand side. Align left, it goes back to the left. All right, and that's how it works. Now for instance, we have there's another instance where you can use the top, align top and align right top and bottom top. There's another instance, I'm trying to figure out what that instance would be, but if I remember, we'll come back to it. Let's go to the tables. And who is excited to see the tables actually? Is there anybody excited? I can see you guys. All right, please, is this being recorded? Yes, it is. I'm recording at the moment. Yeah, but like I said, I don't know when I would have this recording up, but I definitely will have it up. All right, I see you guys. Ayo, I see your hands up. Do you have any questions before we proceed? Ayo, are you there? Okay, so while Ayo is settling in, Victor, your hands is up. Or are you just clapping? Okay, I see. All right, so let's proceed to the tables. Now, the tables is a very delicious topic to cover because there are certain tricks and tips that you can use, majorly tricks that you can use to create a good table. All right, and it comes from a lot of features or a lot of tricks. I would use tricks, extending your text to flow beyond where it is. You know, you can bring back this line that is far away from the text by hitting the width, auto width. Once you do that, it comes back. So there are certain ways you can do this. Let's go into it. Now for this particular one, we'll be using an actual frame. So we'll go to frame, go to desktop, and we're going to choose desktop. Now it's going to be this way, so let's move it to this other part. All right, okay, and then the next thing you're going to do obviously is to get out your grid. So I'm going to get out my grid, I'm going to give it a column, and then for now I'm going to make it 12 point grid. I don't like red, so I'll change it to black, and then I'm going to give it a margin of 100. Right, so I have this, and the gutter would be let's say 24. So we have this now, and what we want to do is to get out our text. So before I do that, I would have to calculate the number of grids here, because these things are going to flow on the grid to give us something really balanced, and you don't want to have something really displaced. in regards to one of it is flowing fine and the next one is off balance. You want all of them to be calculated, so you need to use the same calculation across board. So what are the titles we're going to be using for this? One, we're definitely going to be using what's it called? Sorry, let's do that again. Type. We're going to be using transaction. That's the name of the transaction, and then I'm going to reduce it to 20. Right, 20. I'll put it on this grid and leave it there. Now this is what I'm going to do, and this is the trick. All right, so this is the heading and this is the trick, guys. Now once you have it here, now remember we're going to have 6 items, I mean 6 titles. All right, so and we have 12-point grid, right? So each of those titles will take up how many grids? 2 grids. Now I think someone is on the call. Okay, no one is there. So each of them is going to take up 2 grids, and this one is currently taking up how many grids? Can someone tell me? Someone please tell me quickly so that you would always remember this.
1.
Thank you very much. Now it's taking up 1 grid and it flowed just slightly into the second grid, but it's not on the second grid. All right, if I can prove this to you if so if I leave it here, if I extend it here and leave it here and I type something else, you're going to see it flows downwards. It doesn't flow across that particular part. That's part, not particular part. All right, so select it and drag. That's all you have to do. Drag that borderline and put it on the second grid. You can see the red line showing. I'm sure you guys can see it. And once you have this, it's now on the second grid. Whatever you type will not go past that second grid. It's just going to be there. All right, so we have this now, and by having this, all you need to do next is very simple. All you have to do is just duplicate it to the next grid. All right, duplicate the next one, the next, and the last one. All right, so we have all of them. You can now come and adjust them so that they are on the grid. All right, so you don't have something that is off the grid. So adjust them very well to touch the grid. Now for this particular one, you would have to adjust them manually. All right, and that's why you have the grid turned on. So we have, I think that should be the second to last, and this one should be aligned. Yes, so we have all of them aligned on the grid and they are what we actually want. It's now time to give them a title. So what title are we going to be giving to this one? Let's say we give this one invoice number dot. The next one, someone please give me a name. Let's say status. No, status should be towards the end. So we say date and time.
Description.
Okay, yeah, the description will be the status, because if you put that description the way you want to put it here, it will be quite big. So we have status. What else? Anybody? Amount. Yeah, amount. Thank you very much. Amount, and then the last one will be edit. So this edit feature is where you delete a particular row from your transactions on web. Now this is for web. On mobile you just have to hold it and just press delete. All right, so for web you can put it as either delete, or you can leave that part empty. Actually, in most cases people leave, there's nothing here, you just find those circular stuff where you can click on it and just delete from there. So let's just leave it as this 6 titles: transaction, which is the name of the transaction you did, the invoice number, the date and time, status of that particular transaction, the amount, and then the action. I'll just change this to action. So what action do you want to take on this particular one you're scrolling on? That's what I mean by the action. So I have less than 20 minutes to leave you guys. I can have a company meeting very soon. All right, so we have the transactions here. I will just draw a line from here to the end of the grid. Right, so we have that. I'm going to select all of them, and then I'll bring them downwards this way. Right, so change them from bold to regular, and from regular to 16px. Right, so we have this now, and all of them are still flowing where they should. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is put them in an auto layout frame. So it's now time for us to put them in an auto layout. But before we do that, I would have to find an action for this one. So let's go up to our icon bank. I use Iconify or Feather Icons. For this one, I would use Iconify. So let's see if that loads fast. And yeah, it's there. So just type more. Let's see if we'll find that in more. So we have more, and that is good. Yeah, so we can either use this or use that, that pencil icon. So this is 24px, and that's what we're going to use. We'll align it with this to ensure that it flows on that line. Awesome, it's now on that line exactly where we want it. We can get rid of this now, we don't need it anymore. All right, so we have this, and I'm going to you know what, I'm going to give this a text. So it's going to have a text attached to it. Let's say we have the action text for now, and then move this towards the right this way, somewhere in between the gutter. Select both of them, put them in auto layout, Shift plus A, and then we can I'm thinking of putting them in a button. Okay, let's put them in a button. So I would extend this one, sorry, not that one, the horizontal padding. From here I'll give it 16, and this is at the center, so I'll give the vertical padding 10. Let's make that text white and give it a fill color of something like gray. I can't find anyone in my color palette, so let's just make it black for now and give it a radius of 16. Completely round it, let's say 200. Right, so we have that action. We have the status. Yeah, so the status also would be in that manner, but for the status we would have titles. So what would be the titles? We'll have approved, and it's going to be in its color. I'll make that a bit bold, and for approved, we know the approved color is green, so I'm going to choose this red and then change from the color wheel. I'll move it this way until I have a softer green, something like this. Okay, so that has been approved. I don't like that green. Let's see. Right, that has been approved. We have the action, and then I'll reduce the proximity between both of them. It's quite far. Right, now all of these are going to have their names. So what transaction was done? Let's say airtime purchase, or just airtime. It doesn't have to have purchase. The ID number, let's say because it's DW, so we have DW0010. For someone will say I said I'm 001. Let me change that. Right. Date. So today's date is, I think, 20th. So we'll put 20/04/2023, and then there's a dot we do, but I'm going to put this as comma because the time today now is 10:26 a.m. All right, so that's the time. You can see, and it takes up that particular space. And then amount, put it in dollars, say like 20.00. Yeah, so that's cool. And any other thing? No, that's all. All right, so we have all of this. Now select all of them, and I'm going to show you guys something, because you're going to see that this flows exactly how it's supposed to flow. So bring out these rulers and place them side by side on the grids to be sure that they actually flow exactly where they should. So I'm going to place them on the grids, amount, then the last one is action, I guess. Yeah, right. So we have this now, all the lines, you can see all those lines are there. So select the down ones, select all of it, go to auto layout, press auto layout. Now watch what happens. They won't move, they won't leave their position, so I hope they don't. All right, so we have that locked now in an auto layout frame, and I will duplicate it downwards. I'm going to make that 24px over the other one. And now whatever I do, whatever at all I do, so this is one other invoice, so let's change it to another invoice, blah 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 blah. We have that there. We can change this to data purchase. Right, we can change the time, we can change it from approved to failed, right, and choose the red one. You can change the amount to, maybe you purchase, you're a big man, you purchase data up to this amount, comma 00, so you have so much money. All right, so you can see it still retains that position. Now just select this one and this one, but before you do that, always have a line to differentiate the both of them. So we're going to have a line like this, and what I like to do is drop it to 30%. All right, and then select both of them, put them in an auto layout frame. So we've selected the both, and then just put it in, wait, sorry, move this away. Let's see, select this and this. Auto layout is not showing here, so what do? Shift plus A, now it's an auto layout, and then we can extend this to 25. So that 25 is the space between them. All right, and then you can now duplicate. So I can select this, press it as many times as I want. All right, come to the line, and obviously you're not going to get the same thing. This is where the other step of using auto layout works. So select one of the line, use your navigation, so you can just use your navigation, you can see what's happening there. Go back, select another one. I'm moving them, go back, select another one, just that way, another one. Then we have to duplicate this, so we'll duplicate that, move it one step again, select this one, duplicate it, move it one step. All right, that is it. And you can see our line, the initial line we had, is still where it is. You can see those lines. So I'm going to get rid of those horizontal lines. I'm just going to click on them. You can click on them and do remove guides. There was a feature, but I think it's only in the mobile app, I mean the web app, where if you right click on the top here, you can just remove horizontal lines or vertical lines. All right, so we have this now. We're going to get rid of the grid, just close it, hide it for now, and this is what we have. This is what we have as our tables, or tables. So I'm going to change this from desktop to table or transaction, whichever one. And that's it, guys. That's how you can go about creating this and ensuring that it flows. You can even center align these ones, right? If I select all of these and I decide to center these ones, you can do it. So select all of them, go to your text section and click center. Nothing would happen to the rest of the items, so you can see what happens. They are centered, aligned, and because you've given that space in the text, you've given it a boundary, you've said it shouldn't go beyond this. But if this was not this way, let's say it was left aligned, and then we close this out, see what happens. It displaces this one, and other ones are accurate, this one is not. So that's why we extend that text, and everybody does this to ensure that whatever result you get at the end of the day conforms with exactly what you're working on and helps the other children. So the ones at the top are like the parents. If I select all of them, I'll put them auto layout. They're like the parents, and then these are their children. So if one child is bad, it will affect the other child. It's like real world. If one child in your family is stubborn and everybody knows that child for being stubborn, it affects everybody, right? Everybody in the family, people will start looking at you guys one eye, bombastic one eye, or maybe side eye. So that is how it actually works, and I'm sure some of you have questions to ask. So I'm open to answering your question before we call it a day. So just extend this by 27, and that is it. Right? Any questions?
Good morning, David.
Yeah, good morning.
My name is Patrick. So the question I want to ask is, I would love to replicate something like this to like learn from it. Can you please help me with like when you put the layout grid? What was the gutter size, the margin size? Like to just replicate this, please. Can you just show it to me?
The grid, right?
Yes, you can bring back the grid so that I can see. Maybe you go back to the
Yeah,
bring back the grid.
I'll just tell you. Yeah, so for the grid, for the columns, you'd use 12 columns. When you select the columns, 12 columns. For margin, 100 in margin, and then for gutter, 24.
Okay, 1224.
Yes. 12.3
Thank you very much.
columns. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you.